විහිදෙන ජීවිතේ.
What are the changes you have noticed in our society, both good and bad, if you were to comment?
There is only one life we have got to live. So, why make life miserable for others?
Younger generations, do they feel the same way, you think?
You have to convince them by the way you live.
Is there something that you would like to directly communicate to the Sri Lankan people?
You know, there are so many good things in these religious philosophies that we follow. Try to bring that out.
In Black and White with Milinda Morgada and his guest, His Eminence Malcolm Ranjit, Cardinal Archbishop of Colombo, September 22nd at 8:30 p.m. on TV1.
Legends of Music on TV1.
There's a new world somewhere.
Keith Hotka.
Hi, Mon.
I brought one to you.
He had the nickname the Big O.
To the same market as the Seekers.
Legends of Music. ඉරිදා සවස 2:30ට.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. I'm Zeenat Musafa. Let's take a look at your headlines for today.
Emergency cabinet meeting convened to abolish the executive presidency. Motion opposed by a majority.
මේක විධායක ජනාධිපති ක්‍රමය නෙමෙයි සජිත් බිහිතිකාව. මම දන්නේ කාටද තියෙන්නේ කියලා.
අගමැතිතුමා තමයි මේකේ මුල කියලා අපි හොයාගත්තා.
3 candidates placed bonds for the presidential election. People's Bank Amendment Act passed in Parliament. Revelation on a minister who obtained billions in the form of an emergency loan. Vasantha Karannagoda and Roshan Gunatilaka elevated to the rank similar to the rank of Field Marshal. Sajid Premadasi, speaking at the Presidential Export Award, says the challenge today is to export new products to new markets.
And now taking a look at your political news. Up first to bring you the latest political unfoldings, we are joined by Deshan Gonawala from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. Good evening, Deshan.
Good evening, Zeenat. I am here at the heart of Colombo at the Newsfirst News Centre. It's been an interesting day on the political front. We saw an emergency cabinet meeting called at about 3 p.m. today, where a proposal was put forward to have the executive presidency abolished. But of course, that was met with much of a negative reaction, and that was how it went. Let's have a look.
The UNP parliamentary group, including Minister Sajid Premadasa, held a meeting before attending the cabinet meeting. Our correspondent said that this meeting held at the parliamentary complex was attended by about 50 members of the UNP parliamentary group. It was decided at this meeting to oppose the proposal to be presented at the cabinet meeting. Our correspondent added that although ministers with Rishad Bathiuddin and Manu Ganeshan did not attend this meeting, they too had endorsed the decision to oppose this proposal. After the meeting, the ministers arrived at Temple Trees to hold discussions with Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. The cabinet meeting chaired by the president was later held at the presidential secretariat. At the cabinet meeting, it was proposed that the 20th amendment that would abolish the executive presidency should be approved in parliament. A draft bill of the 20th amendment had been presented to parliament by the JVP to abolish the executive presidency and vest a majority of those powers with the prime minister. The Supreme Court determined that a 2/3 majority in parliament followed by a referendum is needed for the draft bill to be passed. However, a majority of the cabinet ministers were against this proposal.
Such a proposal during such a time. Now just think about it. The Gazette was issued last night. A date has been announced for the election, and there is a date for the nominations to be handed in. When these days have been announced, even discussing about abolishing the executive presidency is a disgraceful act. This is a blow on the democratic rights of the people. If there was a need to abolish the executive presidency, they should have done it 2 weeks ago or a week ago. If not, they should have held discussions about this on Tuesday. There was a cabinet meeting on Tuesday. A presidential election had not been announced by that time.
ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කළ තිබුණේ නැහැ.
ඒතර අද මහලේකම්තුමා ප්‍රකාශ කරලා තියෙනවා ලබන සතියේ අපේක්ෂකතුමා UMP එකේ නම් කරනවා කියලා. අගමැතිතුමා ප්‍රකාශ කරා කියලා. ඒකට ඒ ඔබතුමාද?
There are no two words about it. I am prepared.
දේවතාවක් හිතන්න දෙයක්වත් නැහැ. මම ලෑස්ති.
ඒතර ඔබතුමා ලෑස්ති වුණාට අගමැතිතුමා ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න එපා ඔබතුමාගේ නම.
මේ ඔක්කොම සුබ.
All of this will unfold positively. Do not fear. I feel that there is Sajid phobia behind all of this. This is not regarding the executive presidency, but the Sajid phobia. I do not know who has this phobia.
මම දන්නේ කාටද තියෙන්නේ කියලා.
ලබන සතියේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනය නැවත ගැනීමක් සිදු වෙන්නේ නැද්ද ඔබතුමා කියන්නේ?
20 වෙනි සංශෝධනය
The 20th amendment presented by the JP should have been discussed before this. I'm telling you again and again. How can you act like this when a presidential election has already been announced? What sort of a joke is this?
ඒවා තිබෙන අවස්ථාවක කොහොමද මෙහෙම හැසිරෙන්නේ? මොන විහිළුවක්ද?
When an election has been announced and when the UNP has the ability to emerge victorious, we are against the people being given an idea like this. So a majority of the UNP members clearly stated that after the presidential election is held, we can hold discussions about abolishing the executive presidential system. But we said that is not necessary to hold these discussions in an inappropriate time. The president clearly said that he does not have anything to do with this and it was done based on a request made to him. When a gazette has been issued calling for an election, we feel that the Prime Minister had reduced the power of our faction by doing this. We found out that the Prime Minister was the start of all this.
අගමැතිතුමා තමයි මේකේ මුල කියලා අපි හොයාගත්තා. ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ මතය කොහොමද උනේ? ජනාධිපතිතුමා
The President said that this is something that should be discussed within the United National Front and there is no need for the Cabinet of Ministers to be summoned to hold discussions regarding it.
අමාත්‍ය මණ්ඩලයේ කඳවල කතා කිරීමේ අවශ්‍යතාවයක් නැහැ කියලා එතුමත් කිව්වා. මොකද අති බහුතරයක් අකමැති.
A vast majority opposed it. That is why we challenge them to bring it to the parliamentary group and approve it if possible. If it is brought there, we will defeat it by a 2/3 majority at the parliamentary group. Not only a 2/3 majority, we will defeat this proposal by a bigger margin. This is a program to reduce the power of our faction.
වැඩපිළිවෙලක්.
ඔව් අමතුමේ දැන් මේ විධායක ජනාධිපති ක්‍රමය හදිසියෙම අහෝසි කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් යෝජනාව ගෙනාවේ අගමැතිවරයා කියලා.
ඔව් ලහි ලහි එතුමා තමයි.
Yes, it was he who had brought this in such a hurry. That is what we can see. We were with him on the 26th of October because of the promise given by him that we will move forward with a new vision and a presidential election this year. But he has betrayed us and he is doing this with a mindset of defeat. Otherwise, we see this as a move to obstruct a good candidate from contesting the election.
ඉදිරිපත් වීම බලක්වාලීමට කරන වැඩක් හැටියට අපි දකින්නේ.
කොහොමද කිව්ව හොඳ අපේක්ෂකයෙක් ඉදිරිපත් වීම වැළැක්වීමට කියලා.
එහෙමයි අපි දකින්නේ. ප්‍රේමදාස මහතා ඉදිරිපත් වීමටද? එහෙම තේරුම් ගන්න පුළුවන්.
ඔව් අද හවස පක්ෂ නායක රැස්වීමක් තියෙනවා. මොකක්ද ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන්?
ඉතින් මේක නම් සාකච්ඡා කරන්න අපි කැඳවන්නේ තේරුමක් නැහැ. මගේ අදහස් මම විවෘතව කියලා ඉවරයි.
ඒ කියන්නේ ඔබතුමාලා සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහතා වෙනුවෙන් සහයෝගය ලබා දීමක් කරනවද?
අපි කිව්වා
We are convening to hold discussions about this. I think there is no point in it. I have already clearly stated my opinion. We have already said that he is the most popular candidate across the country. If he comes forward, we have the power to emerge victorious at this election. We can do it and show you as well. We are sad that the UNP leadership is not giving room for this.
නායකත්වයකට ඉඩ නොදෙන එක පිළිබඳව අපි කනගාටුයි.
Well, what you heard there, of course, was opposition expressed within the annals of government. But as you can imagine, the opposition in parliament also had views to express. Let's now have a look at what the opposition said in parliament about the proposed move to abolish the executive presidency. They have remembered to abolish the executive presidency when it is time for them to pack their bags. Now what must be done is to hold the presidential election and to elect a president. This must be brought into parliament and obtain a 2/3 majority, and then a public referendum should also be held. You cannot abolish the executive presidency without all of this. It's a shame. Did they scrape coconuts for 4 years? They only have 2 more weeks until their tenure comes to an end. If the executive presidency is to be abolished, a proposal to abolish the provincial councils must also be put forward simultaneously. We urge Ranil Wickremesinghe, Anura Kumara Dissanayaka and all leaders, stop this crime and the damage you are doing to this country. Do not be cursed by the general public.
වෙන්න එපා කියන ඉල්ලීම මේ නායකයින්ට අපි කරනවා. විධායක ජනාධිපතිතුමා අහෝසි කිරීම.
If an act to abolish the executive presidency is put forward, we will oppose it and do everything possible to defeat it.
මදයක් අපි කරන්න කටයුතු කරනවා කියන එක අපි මේලා මතක් කරන්න ඕනේ. ජනාධිපති ක්‍රමය අහෝසි කිරීමේ
We have learned that there is a struggle to bring forward an act to abolish the executive presidency. Do not try to play games with the constitution. Does this parliament exist to obstruct elections? The government and the Prime Minister first stopped the provincial council elections, and now you are trying to play the same with the presidential election.
නෝන්ඩි වෙන්න එපා, පීචම් වෙන්න එපා.
Well, after all this happened in Parliament and also at the Cabinet meeting, the leaders of the United National Front met at Temple Trees this evening for yet another round of discussions. Now, this is what Minister Sajith Premadasa, who is also a presidential aspirant, had to say.
මේ මොහොතේ සූදානම් එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂ නියෝජ්‍ය නායක අමාත්‍ය සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහතා සමගින් සම්බන්ධ වන්නට අමාත්‍යතුමනි අද මේ සාකච්ඡාවේදී මොන වගේ කාරණා සම්බන්ධයෙන්ද වැඩි අවධානයක් යොමු වුණේ?
අපි සාකච්ඡා කරා විශේෂයෙන්ම ලබන සතියේ හමු වෙලා කෘත්‍යාධිකාරී මණ්ඩලය මන්ත්‍රීතුමන්ලා එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කරන්න.
දිනයක් තීරණය වුණාද කෘත්‍යාධිකාරී මණ්ඩලයේ රැස් වන ලබන සතියේ?
හරියටම දිනයක් තීන්දුව නැහැ මොකද සමහර අය විවිධ රාජකාරී කටයුතු මත විදේශ සංචාරවලට ගිහිලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා හරියාකාරව දිනයක් තීන්දුව නැහැ. ඒක මම හිතන්නේ ඉදිරි දින දෙක තුන ඇතුළත ඒක සිද්ධ වෙයි.
ඔව් දැන් මේ සාකච්ඡාවට එක්සත් ජාතික පෙරමුණ නියෝජනය කරමින් කවුද සහභාගී වුණු පක්ෂ නායකයන් මොනවද ඔවුන්ගේ ස්ථාවරයන් බවට පත් වුණේ?
මම හිතන්නේ හකීම් මැමතිතුමා විතරයි මම ඉන්නකොට ආවේ.
ඔවුන්ගේ ස්ථාවරය මොකද්ද මේ කාරණේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් දැන් දිගින් දිගටම කල්මැරීමක් සිදුනවා කියලා සාමාන්‍ය ජනතාවට දකින්න ලැබෙනවා.
හෙට අපි ආපහු හමු වෙනවා. මම හිතන්නේ පුළුල් සාකච්ඡාවක් හෙට සිද්ධ වෙයි. අද ඒ තරම් බැලෑරුම් සාකච්ඡාවක් නෙමෙයි නෑ.
මේ සඳහා අග්‍රාමාත්‍යවරයා සහභාගී වුණාද රනිල් කුමාරසිංහ මහතා? ඔහුගේ ස්ථාවරය මොකක්ද?
මම කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම මේ කතා වුණු කරුණු කාරණා පිළිබඳව පැහැදිලිව මේ විස්තරාත්මකව සාකච්ඡා වුණේ නැහැ. මම හිතන්නේ හෙට දවසේ මොකද අද ඇත්තටම පෙරමුණේ එක්සත් ජාතික පෙරමුණේ නායකින්ගෙන් හිටියේ මම හිතන්නේ හකීම් මහත්මයා විතරයි. අනිත් අයත් ආවම මම හිතන්නේ විස්තරාත්මක කතා කියලා මම හිතනවා.
අද දිනේ මොනවද සාකච්ඡා කරන්න විශේෂම කියලා?
අද දිනේ විශේෂම කියලා මාතෘකාවක් සාකච්ඡා වුණේ නැහැ. අර පෙරමුණේ නායකින් ප්‍රමාණය මම හිතන්නේ හකීම් මහත්මයා පමණක් ආපු නිසා ලබන සතියේට යොදාගත්තා.
ඒ කියන්නේ අද දිනේ මේ සාකච්ඡාව වර්ධනය කිරීමක්ද සිදු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ?
නෑ මම හිතන්නේ එහෙම දෙයක් කියලා. දැන් හෙට හම්බ වෙනවනේ අපෝ.
ඔව් දැන් අද සන්ධ්‍යාවේ ජනාධිපති ලේකම් කාර්යාලයේදී සිදුවුණු සිදුවීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් මෙතනදී සාකච්ඡා වුණාද?
නෑ.
කිසිදු අවධානයක් ඒ සඳහා යොමු වුණේ නැහැ.
නෑ ඒක ගැන සාකච්ඡා වුණේ.
අමතුන් සුදුවාදී විසඳුමක් ලැබෙයි.
කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ සිදුවුණු දේ දැන් ඉතින් ඒක ඉවරයි.
අපි දැක්කා එතනින් පිටරට ඇවිල්ලා ගොඩක් පක්ෂ නායකයන් එක්සත් ජාතික පෙරමුණ නියෝජනය කරන ඔවුන් දැඩි ලෙස අග්‍රාමාත්‍යවරයා දෝෂාරෝපණයට ලක් කළා. විශේෂයෙන් මනෝ ගණේෂන්, රවුෆ් හකීම් වගේ මැතිවරුන්. දැන් මේ කාරණේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් මෙතනදී සාකච්ඡා නොවීම කියන කාරණේ ඔබතුමා සඳහන් කරන්නේ.
මම අර පෙර කිව්වා වගේ හකීම් මැමතුමා විතරයි සහභාගී වුණේ එක්සත් ජාතික පෙරමුණේ නායකයෙක් හැටියට. මම හිතන්නේ හෙට දවසේ වැඩි ප්‍රමාණයක් සහභාගී වෙනවනේ මම හිතන්නේ දීර්ඝ ලෙස කරුණු කාරණා සාකච්ඡා කරේ.
Now, with the presidential election set for the 16th of November and also the date for nominations to be called already set, we have seen a few political parties, the SLPP, present Gotabaya Rajapaksa as their candidate, and the National People's Power Movement put forward Anura Kumara Dissanayake. But the United National Party, one of the main parties in the country, have still failed to nominate or name their candidate. This is what ministers and members of the party had to say about the matter.
We hope to take a decision regarding the candidate by next week. The candidate will be fielded from the United National Party. We believe we could reach a final decision after party level discussions that will take place today and tomorrow. By Friday this week, we would have some update. At present, Sajith Premadasa tops the list. There are several members of our party who have requested for nomination. However, the party will take the correct decision.
We hope that it will be by discussion. The first preference is by consensus. Otherwise, if it has to be through a division, because we are very independent democratic.
There is no division. We will ensure the right candidate will be put forward at the right time. The candidate must be presented on the 7th of October. By then, we will field our candidate and put forward our group's agenda. Anyone can contest by obtaining the approval of a majority of the parliamentary group. This is democracy.
Now today's parliamentary sitting was adjourned, but before it was adjourned, we saw the passing of the much talked about People's Bank Bill with certain amendments made. Now also Parliament was adjourned without the opportunity for the reply speech in the adjournment's motion on the university non-academic staff strike moved by the JVP.
The People's Bank Amendment Bill was put forward by the government to increase authorised capital of the bank by issuing shares and debentures. The opposition claimed that this was an attempt to privatise the banking institution. Today, the government agreed to one of the many amendments presented by the opposition, while the opposition was defeated when a vote was taken regarding the amendment.
There is no problem in issuing debentures to further strengthen and protect these banks. However, our view is that the minister should take such decisions after obtaining the approval of the monetary board. We cannot agree to this amendment, but if we are taking a vote, we can proceed. The biggest issue here is that after issuing debentures, if the banks run out of funds to settle them when they mature, will the government convert these debentures into equity shares? This is stated in the government circular, and therefore the government cannot refrain from doing it. Approval must be obtained from the monetary board of the central bank. Without such approval, Bank of Ceylon or the National Savings Bank cannot issue any debentures. Same applies for the People's Bank as well. Shares of People's Bank cannot be transferred to anyone. While we thank you for presenting these amendments, I would like to say we would not accept any of them either. I was informed this morning that a certain minister that paid the electricity bill of Sirikotha has requested the People's Bank to issue funds worth 5 billion rupees to his company within the day. He had obtained 8 billion rupees from the Bank of Ceylon. They spoke of the Volkswagen factory. Today they had requested for another loan of 5 billion rupees for this factory in Kuliapitia. We are concerned as to whether the 10 billion rupees is obtained from state banks to buy over MPs to support the abolishing of the executive presidency. Loans worth 5 billion rupees obtained by Minister Dayagamage were written off as bad debt. We think the act was also passed for this reason. The people of this country will stone and chase the government if it continues to operate like this.
While MP Bimal Ratnayaka presented the proposal for the non-academic staff protest and several MPs expressed their view in this regard, no member of the ruling party was present to answer the adjournment notion. We would like to know as to who will answer the adjournment motion.
I inform the leader of the house. Minister also tell coming the one meetings there, coming the minister. House adjourn tomorrow till 10:30 a.m.
Now still in your political news, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe attended a number of events in Kaluthara today.
The Prime Minister, who first launched the urban development project in Bombuwala, Kaluthara, later laid the foundation stone for the educational and cultural centre to be constructed at the Bombuwala Sri Subodhi Rajarahama Viharasthanaya. Even though a number of other events were organised, the Prime Minister ended his visit in Kaluthara and left to the parliamentary complex by air. Compensation was granted to around 200 UN peers who have been subject to political vengeance at the temple trees this afternoon under the auspices of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. A cabinet paper had been submitted to receive approval for these compensation payments. The event was held at the BMICH to recognize and commend exemplary exporters. This evening's event was the 23rd edition of the award ceremony.
Well, that's it from up here at the Newsfirst News Centre. Zeenat, it's back over to you.
Thank you, Deshan, for that comprehensive report from the political arena. And still in your local news, Speaker of Parliament Karu Jayasuriya visited Kandy today. The Speaker attended a ceremony to hand over an epistle to the Most Venerable Nyangoda Samit Dimangalathero, the Anunayaka of the upcountry Amarapura Nikaya. Journalists questioned the Speaker as to whether he is contesting the upcoming presidential election.
අද කමෙන්ට් කරන්න වොයිස් කට් දෙන්නේ නැහැ නේ මම වොයිස් කෝ නෑ මම වොයිස් කට් දෙන්නේ නැහැ. පස්සේ වෙලාවට මම දෙන්න වොයිස් කට්. වොයිස් කට් දෙන්නේ නැහැ. අද බැංකු පන්ති වුණානේ. වොයිස් කට් දෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Meanwhile, a media briefing was convened by the opposition today. It was said that if the speaker wishes to engage in politics, if it is better for him to resign from his position as speaker.
Speaker Karu Jayasuriya has expressed his intention of contesting for the presidential election in writing. Therefore, Speaker Karu Jayasuriya should immediately resign from his position as Speaker of Parliament to protect the integrity of Parliament if he wants to engage in politics.
The Presidential Export Awards was held this evening under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena. Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Minister Sajith Premadasa and Minister Malik Samaravikrama attended the event.
The event was held at the BMICH to recognize and commend exemplary exporters. This evening's event was the 23rd edition of the awards ceremony.
Sri Lanka's manufacturing exports are in the same place today as it was in the early 1980s. And Sri Lanka did not become the next Asian tiger. This brings me to the central structural challenge. We have developed one manufacturing export since independence, apparel. But since the early 1980s, we have not diversified our exports or our export destinations. As the National Export Strategy propounds, we continue to export all products to all markets. The challenge today is for us to export new products to new markets. We also need to make the border more efficient. The rapid and complete digitization and interconnection of customs and other border agencies to create a single window, and this is an absolute must. This will automatically reduce corruption and waste. We need to bring our administrative procedures to the level of Singapore and Dubai if we are to compete and become the trading and manufacturing hub.
Opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa and Gotabaya Rajapaksa engaged in religious observances in Polonnaruwa today.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who arrived at the Madirigiriya Buddhist Centre, met with the chief incumbent Venerable Madirigiriya Asgiri Thero. Afterwards, he arrived at the Somavati Rajamahaviharaya and was joined by leader of the opposition Mahinda Rajapaksa. Mahinda Rajapaksa and Gotabaya Rajapaksa then attended an almsgiving for the Mahasangha of the Somavati Rajamahaviharasthanaya.
Three candidates placed bonds for the presidential election today.
Director General of the National Elections Commission, Samant Sri Ratnayaka, said 2 independent candidates and another placed their bonds. Accordingly, former parliamentarian Jayantha Katagoda, former JVP MP S. Amarasinghe and Dr. Ajanta Pereira from the Sri Lanka Socialist Party placed their bonds. In addition, starting from today, government employees can apply for postal voting. The National Elections Commission applications will be accepted until the 30th of September.
The formal ceremony to present the honorary rank of Admiral of the Fleet to retired Navy Commander Admiral Wasantha Karnangoda and the honorary rank of Marshal of the Air Force to retired Air Chief Marshal Roshan Gunatilaka took place today. These ranks are equal to the rank of Field Marshal.
The formal ceremony took place at the East Terminal of the Colombo Harbour under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena. In an extraordinary gazette on the 6th of August, the President awarded the honorary rank of Admiral of the Fleet to retired Admiral Vasantha Kumara Jayadeva Karannagoda, an honorary rank of Marshal of the Air Force to retired Air Chief Marshal Roshan Gunathilaka for their outstanding gallantry, meritorious performance and distinguished service to the nation during the humanitarian operation and the defeat of terrorism in Sri Lanka. Vasantha Karannagoda served as Navy Commander from the 1st of September 2005 to the 14th of July 2009. Roshan Gunathilaka was appointed as the Commander of the Sri Lanka Air Force on the 12th of June 2006 and he retired from service on the 27th of February 2011. After the war ended in 2009, until today, it was a race to be branded as the father of the war, a race to get possession of it. But the two people you mentioned here who were felicitated were the people who made great sacrifices and provided leadership to the war on the battlefield. But for some reason, out of these three people, only one person had got this recognition before. I was one person who even came before the media and asked for that title of his to be removed because of his behavior. But the injustice that was done to the other two individuals, even after some time these people being given due recognition, I see that as justice being done to everyone who were involved in the war. Today many people are trying to own this war. They are people who gave orders from air-conditioned rooms. They are the ones who sold the war and engaged in politics. Not just today, but they were selling this war from back in 2009. They sold the war and they sold things like weapons and other items during the war for their benefit. So we are happy that even after such a destructive period, we are happy that these two individuals were felicitated like this.
Disabled military veterans continued their protest and fast opposite the Fort railway station today as well.
Many parties held discussions with protesters today. The group are demanding for their service wages to be paid after they retire. Tensions arose among members of the group after they said that they were not given an opportunity to hold discussions with the Ministry of Finance.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for today. I'm Zeenat Musafir. Thank you for watching News First. Good night.